At some point in our history, someone learned how to turn this into this. Today, that's what we're gonna do. Paper, as we know it, has been around for how long? 1900 years. Wow, that's actually way longer than I thought it would be. But it wasn't spread throughout the world until basically the 1800s. And it originated in China. That's why they're so smart. Yeah. And then it slowly spread throughout the world. But before that, people would use things like rocks, animal hide, and whatever else they could find to tell stories and communicate. Oh, to be completely honest, I'm kind of envious of the old days. Imagine writing a letter on a deer hide to your crush. That's sexy. You see, modern day paper is fine. It allows us to easily store information, share stories, documents. But my beef with modern day paper is that it lacks character. And whether I'm writing love notes to my wife or trying to make cool pictograph cave art, wow, I need character. What do you think? Kind of sucks. So I'm gonna attempt to make some, like this dude. Pa Lun, I think I got that right. He was a part of the Han Dynasty, and apparently he perfected the old way of doing things. And it's actually a pretty simple process, and it was creatively termed hand papermaking. Nice. The most important piece of the papermaking process is the material, which is why I'm out here. See, most plants and grasses could work, but we don't just want any material. If we were to just use a bunch of random plants, our paper might just fall apart. For the best results, we really want fibrous plants. So things like bamboo, hemp, and the most commonly used plant was mulberry bark. See, the fibers in the plant will allow the paper to bind, which will in turn make our paper more durable. Kind of like how the more fiber you eat, the more solid your poo will be. Oh yeah, and colon cancer is on the rise, so make sure you're eating your fiber. This is yucca. It's one of the most fibrous plants I have in my area. Ow! Yeah, and it's kind of sharp. It's a hardy, drought-tolerant plant known for its sword-like blades, and they can be found in most arid climates across America. Ow. They are very sharp.
So I began harvesting leaves from various different yucca plants so that I didn't damage any particular plant too severely. Oh, and those little black bugs on the plant, guess what they're called? Yucca plant bugs. We really need to have someone more creative coming up with these names.
Ah! I really have no idea how much I need, but I feel like this is probably enough. This stuff is rough to handle though. Should be plenty to make a few sheets of paper. All right, I gotta get off this mountain. I smell a fire and there's a lot of smoke coming in. I'm back home and now it is time to boil the yucca. But before we do that, we need to cut these up into some tiny pieces. And honestly, I think the easiest way to do this is use the axe. These little dagger blades have given me more cuts than I care to mention, so on goes the big gloves. I will say this is pretty hard work. I'm working up a good sweat, but one thing is this sound is so satisfying. Listen to this. Our yucca is cut up into smaller pieces, and now it's time to boil.
Like most of my projects, I'm winging it pretty hard and going off what I think looks right. Apparently, this stuff helps break down lignin, which holds the plant fibers together. It cleans raw materials by removing natural waxes, starches, and impurities, resulting in cleaner, stronger paper, which we'll need because yucca is extremely tough. I opted for the camp stove, which I later figured out didn't get the water quite as hot as I would have liked, but it worked nonetheless.
Kind of. Now we wait. I have a feeling this is going to take a while. It's been 4-ish hours. It's got a nice slow boil to it. And it surprisingly smells really good, like sweet. Oh, they're still there for sure. I thought they might be a mush, but... Alright, I'm going to take this off the heat and just leave it overnight. We'll finish this up in the morning. Now I need to make a mold and decal, which is just essentially a frame with a small mesh screen. Picked up this old frame from an antique store, and I just went to the hardware store and got some much needed supplies. And we're done. Basically just a screen for a window, but smaller.
The typical process for breaking down the plant fiber goes as follows. Boil, rinse, beat the fibers with a mallet, then blend the fibers into a pulp. At that point, you're basically ready to make paper. You may have realized I missed a step. That's because I decided to ignore the thousands of years of knowledge in papermaking and do it my way.
Okay, we now have a vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO smoothie that you could sell for top dollar at your nearest Pilates studio, or continue with the paper making process, which is what we're gonna do. Cheers. It's actually kind of good. This is the moment of truth. We're gonna dip our board and decal down into the vat where all the pulp is now mixed up, floating around, and the idea is when we pull it up, the fibers will get caught on the mesh. We'll transfer that to our cloth, try to get out as much moisture as possible, do that to a few different sheets, and then put some pressure on them and let them dry. Does that look great? I guess we'll see. I don't know what it's supposed to look like, so. It's been 24 hours and this is how our paper turned out. Not great. As you can see, very coarse. And that's the best piece of paper I got out of the 5 sheets that I made. Luckily, I got plenty of yucca and we're gonna redo this and hopefully do it the correct way.
Since my first batch was extremely stringy, I cut the yucca even smaller, which was a painfully slow process, but also a good finger dexterity workout. In order to feel like my first attempt wasn't a complete waste of time, I cut up and threw in some of the failed sheets. Made me feel better. More washing soda, a boil.
I have our sludge again, and I think one of the biggest mistakes I made the first time was I didn't beat it enough.
Right away, I could tell this batch was better. But then the yucca smoothie started to bubble and fizz like a soda. Listen. So I researched what this meant and found some interesting information. Native Americans actually used the yucca to make a leathery soap, and yucca extract is actually used in root beer to create that delicious foaminess.
I have 100% faith that this is gonna be better than the first time, and like there's a 50% chance that it's gonna work. And then also, instead of going in this way with the molten decal where there's this ridge, I'm gonna go in, pull up this way. It's gonna be kind of ugly because this is not great, but I should be able to transfer it to the cloth a little cleaner. But as you can see, there's tiny little materials floating around, and this looks a lot better than the first time I did this. And when I shake it, it gets a little cloudy. Okay, here we go. Okay, there's a look at it. This looks pretty good. Let's transfer it. Let some of that water run off. I think this is gonna work. All right, I'm gonna lift it. No way. I think it's good. Wow, that looks good. Don't freak out. I was so frustrated with this project, but now I think it's like all coming together and it's actually a really cool process. I skipped some steps and I should have known that I was gonna bite me in the ass. Ooh, how cool is that? And now we just need to weigh this down for 30 or so minutes. These have been sitting for 30 minutes. Let's transfer them to the screen and start the drying process. Oh, those look good. There's our 4 sheets of yucca paper. Let these sit for 24 hours and they should be dry. Peel right away. That's so satisfying. The fact that we used a yucca plant to create some old-fashioned paper is just so cool to me. It's pretty stiff like cardboard right now, but I feel as I'm working it, it's kind of getting more and more malleable. I don't want to be too tough on it, but it feels very durable. It seems like the more you beat your fibers, the more you blend them, the better product you get. You can still see there's some pretty long strands there. And that's kind of what gives it a really rough texture, but I'm very happy with this. Well, I think it's time to fix our pictograph art, because I still have that up from that clip earlier in the video. That's a wrap for the paper project. I had a lot of fun with this one. I actually have another project coming up where I'm gonna be using some natural materials as well. So if you enjoyed this one, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.